Hello, Bl'Artagnan here, bringing you a second TCC challenge for the Crimson Arms Bartz Heretic Lufenia, bringing a team of Golbez, Hope, and Aerith. Starting off there with Aerith's skill 1, because I'm going to be trying to stretch out her Seal Evil as long as possible. As usual, she hits a small longevity issue later in the fight with that, so I want to try to maximize our time, and this drops a nice Int Brave buff on the party, so that's more regen, I guess. Want to show off a nifty bit of tech. It turns out that Golbez, who's a pretty strong damage dealer, he needs to hit weakness damage to really be effective. That's a kind of a big part of his kit. And for a fight like this, where they're immune to imperils, it can be a bit of a pain. However, he actually benefits from Hope's magic imperil when it comes to hitting the weakness damage he needs to hit. So that's a fun bit of usefulness for Hope. As we're in this kind of era of imperil immunity, he just kind of ignores that and is able to do his thing. Feels extra fitting given that they were on banners together during the Golbez cycle. We're going to be relying on Fujin's base and LD calls to survive and kind of get through the wind orb phase of the fight, which is most of it. We're going to bring a couple tricks to get past the various gotta break thresholds, must break thresholds, whatever you want to call them. The you hit one thresholds. Yeah, you see Golbez pumping out some solid damage here, even though these guys are not Dark Weak. They're melee weak and he does partial melee damage, and now they're magic weak thanks to Hope, so he's doing pretty good here. On top of that, we get the HP damage up from Aerith. And, yeah, that's the team. I actually was having a bit of trouble finishing this fight with this team, like kind of sealing the deal. It turns out I realized I didn't have Hope or Aerith's high armor, so I went ahead and fixed that, because at this stage, you don't really have an excuse to not high armor units you're using with some regularity. We have plenty of high armor tokens. Blue armor, that's a different story. We're not going to get into blue armor, but that's kind of where we're at. So we're approaching that first threshold here. Gonna go ahead and drop the Golbez LD to push them both under. Small annoyance about that threshold is that if you push one under but not the other won't cleanse debuffs until you push. They'll both do the Brave Gain thing, but the second one will cleanse debuffs after they go under 80, so if you're not careful, that can put you in a rough spot. I was very glad to get them both under there so I could double Caius debuff them without having to, one of them cleanse them off. And likewise, we're going to go ahead and reapply the Hope Imperil. I'm not really sure which of Golbez's skills is better to use for damage, so I really, if the HP damage up from Aerith is only on one guy, I use Golbez's single target on that guy, figuring that's probably better, but I'm not really sure. Golbez being a tanky guy. Honestly, this whole team is pretty darn safe with Hope and Aerith together. And Golbez, another weakness of his is that he's very slow, but that is kind of a benefit here, as he's able to carry the Fujin call and keep us pretty safe from the orb the entire fight. Now, since we're getting closer to that 59% threshold, we're going to bring Bartz in now so that he can start off with the burst and have the LD ready for once we need to cleave that Brave Gain down. I'd hoped to find a second Golbez friend to use here, but it took me quite a few runs to realize that I needed to high armor my dudes. I just hadn't realized it was not a case, and by that point I had failed so many runs with Golbez friend that I had run out of gold. My friends list was empty of them. Luckily, I think Bart's friend is just a better call for this. He got that synergy, got that great Brave bonus, and an interaction which you'll actually see later in the fight is that Golbez's BT effect, unlike with the Kadaj bosses, does not, they don't automatically unbreak once they go below their, when they do their Brave Gain, which is kind of annoying and weird. I don't know why that is. Anyway, here we go. Go ahead and breaking them with the Bartz LD, getting him to 3 stacks now, so that's pretty dope. A little bit nervous about their stack turns here, but kind of hoping that with Aerith protecting us, we should be okay. We got that overheal from Hope. I'm not really sure why Bartz has an overheal now, but I'm not complaining. Chucking meteors. And yeah, we're just kind of hitting them at this point. I'm a little bit nervous about these giant brave gains they're getting. Luckily, we should be able to survive them pretty well. You know, they're both targeting Golbez, and well, oh, hey, double miss! Look at that, and that was a wild breath. So that was pretty lucky. Hindsight, maybe it would have been better to hit. Well, whatever. The break order is staying okay here. I was thinking of going into the Golbez burst here to take advantage of the Bartz BT effect. I ended up not because I wanted Hope on the field to apply his LD debuff. That might have... I'm not really sure if that was a good idea or not, but that was the thinking. So Hope is back. We are no longer enjoying that Bartz BT effect, but we are now enjoying this Pharros LD call. This fight continues a trend in which Pharros is kind of getting shafted by them being immune to imperil. It feels like every fight features a mechanic where Pharros would be really useful if they didn't shut her out. But luckily, just the stat down she brings are potent enough here to be worth bringing, even if she doesn't bring her LD when she enters the field here. So now we're at this kind of awkward spot. Can actually Dark Enchant here, because I don't want to push them under before the Brave finisher is hitting. And so, not the greatest burst phase because we had to use that AA just to make sure we kind of landed just right with the Brave breaks, or with their HP threshold. But this works out pretty decent for what it is. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and reapply that LD debuff, because I could have EX'd there, but whatever. Aerith's AA. Go ahead and Seal Evil. Hitting ones is not great, but battery makes it okay. Luckily, we're still dealing decent damage thanks to one of them having been unbroken now. And with that, we've now passed the last of their scary thresholds, with a decent number of turns to go. These guys get pretty darn tanky for the final stretch, I have to say. With the Spear Shot, with the Golbez burst effect, we are not scared of it. So even though it reduces, or ignores HP reduction, it doesn't do any damage to us, which is another benefit of Golbez's burst. Trying to charge up that Hope EX since I have skills to spare. Aerith gets knocked back. I'm not really sure what the plus effect, or the plus version of that move does. I'm assuming if it breaks you, it does like worse stuff, but now, I'm gonna start chucking snakes at them. I kinda like that Golbez has 4 uses of an LD that he gets plenty of buff uptime with, because it means that in the late game here, you usually have enough LDs that you can just start nuking enemies. I find it very satisfying. Look at that. That's basically 700,000 damage he did between the two of them. The whole generic imperil unframed debuff thing for Golbez, it does hurt him, and his speed isn't great, but he feels so good to use because he just hits so hard. These guys are still alive, which is not the greatest. Still got 8 turns to go, 5% each, so... the problem now is that Aerith has run out of Seal Evil. So that kind of puts us in an awkward spot. And Dark Enchant for that Max Brave up. Toss another Snake at them. 1%. Delaying Hope, that's not great. Well, this is kind of scary. Oh no. Oh no. Oh dear. Well, this is just not looking great at all, is it? We're gonna have to do some pretty wild stuff to get out of here. 3 turns to go. So if they both act, there's no way we're winning this. So I'm gonna go ahead and Fury Brand to kill A. This gives me 2 turns to act to get through this. Luckily, Aerith is able to revive Hope. Now I'm thinking, I don't know if I have this. Quickly check the HP requirements there, and you'll see that we just barely made it. We just barely managed to kill that bear, barely, by the skin of our teeth. And you see there, we made the score, made the HP requirement. I actually go back to check because I couldn't believe it. There you go, the TCC challenge with Golbez, Hope, and Aerith. Bit of a wild ride, and it was a fun one. I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking the video if you did, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.